So we're into the first eclipse season of 2026, and I'm going to go eclipse crazy with this video. So this is completely chaptered. There will be forecasts for where this eclipse lands in your chart according to houses, not ascendant signs. It's quite confusing knowing how to pitch this, by the way, because some people look at their chart through a whole sign perspective. Some people look through Placidus, and also some people look just through houses. So I'm going to explain that in just a second. But before I do, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm going to be covering in this video. Like I said, I'm going to go eclipse crazy. So not only am I going to talk about this particular eclipse, this ring of fire, I'm going to thread it into a bit of a discussion about how all four of the eclipses this year are working together. We are still in the nodal pattern of Pisces and Virgo. And by the time the second eclipse pattern comes in, the eclipse season, the nodes will be across Aquarius and Leo. And that's really important for us because there is a nodal shift. That's a shift in terms of what we're dealing with at a very human level, at a person-to-person level, but also across our governments, our countries, and the world in general. So, you know, what is our focus right now? That seems important. But I'm also going to be exploring the nature of how eclipses belong. You know, there are these things called Saros cycles, and this seems to be a good little place just to talk a little bit about it, not go too in depth, but I want to share a few things about a Saros cycle and what Saros cycle 121 might be bringing us, in particular by looking at the last eclipse in this cycle, which started in 2008. That was the last time we had something from the matching cycle we're in right now, and also something from the upcoming one. There'll be Sabian symbols, a lot of channeled interpretations, and it'll all be indexed and chaptered at the bottom. I just want to apologize. If you did listen to my Saturn in Aries video, you might have noticed the channels were ever so slightly out of whack. You know, my chapter headings. I'm going to make sure I get that right. I'm going to double check it this time. I was maybe in a bit of a rush. Anyway, there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to crack on. Before I get going, I just want to bring up this rather groovy illustration of something I found on Facebook on a channel called Eclipse Atlas, or on a Facebook page called Eclipse Atlas, and it brings you to the Eclipse Atlas website as well. But I really loved this because it's plotting out the solar eclipses of the 21st century organized by Saros cycles. Saros cycles, that sounds funny, doesn't it? And you can see that there's a lovely pattern with them. You know, I mean, this is one of the things I love about astrology so much, is just how everything forms into repeatable cycles again and again and again and again. And you see these beautiful, almost spirographic kind of cycles occurring in life. And, you know, just as the sun comes up from our perspective, it looks like the sun rises every day and sets every day, and the moon rises and sets every day. And we have that experience, you know, we have that daily cycle, but there are cycles within cycles. And that's one thing that I really hope that really comes across about my channel, is my adherence and love of the patterns astrologically and the cycles. So this is just the first thing I wanted to show you, that each one of these strands is bringing in what's known as a Saros cycle. It's representing all the eclipses taking place on a particular strand of a Saros cycle. Now, these Saros cycles go back hundreds of years, thousands of years. In fact, the one that we're on right now, for this particular eclipse coming up tomorrow on the 17th of February, it's from Saros cycle 121. And, you know, I've enlarged it a little bit so you can see it's this one here. And you can see the last one in this series took place on February the 7th, 2008. And this one is obviously on the 17th of February, 2026. The next one in this cycle is in 2044, again in February. Now, these are almost matching. There's 18 years, 11 days and 8 hours between these eclipses within the same cycle. So this is something I just wanted to bring up to show you just how magnificent the planets, you know, I really see that what we've got with astrology is a living clock. You know, like you have your second hand, your minute hand, and your hour hand all moving at different speeds, and yet they come together every now and again to mark the passage of time, and they're describing time. We have this with the sun and the moon in their regular patterns, but also with all of the planets, you know, and the way that they're moving, there are cycles within cycles. So definitely going to explore that. But anyway, before I do that, I just want to give you the key to understanding how to find the right forecast at the end of this video. So for instance, for each house, and it will possibly relate to one or two ascendant signs, but for each house of the zodiac, I'm going to be looking at where the first eclipse falls. This is the one on the 17th of Feb. Where the second eclipse falls, which will be on the 3rd of March at 12 degrees Virgo, where the third and fourth fall. So I've marked them out on a chart, and I'm going to look through every single house and give you a description. Now, you can find out where it is roughly from your ascendant, but I don't know which charting system you're going to use. So here's my recommendation. If you go to astro.com or astroseek.com, or in fact, any birth chart creation software that you want to use, I really like astro.com because it's so intuitive. I've been using this for well over 15 years, more like 20, maybe 25. I don't actually know how old it is, but I've been using it since I first found it. But I'm just going to give you a few different examples. And the way to find out where 28 degrees Aquarius is in your chart is to look out for the Aquarius symbol, which I've blown up here. Is that like yellowy orange wiggly waves? That's the symbol for Aquarius. And you also want to find where Pisces is, which I don't even know what that looks like. Almost like a belt and a tiny waist in the sign of, you know, in a blue color. Now you'll see that where Aquarius goes, we're always reading charts anti-clockwise, you know, in terms of how the planets are moving around our charts. They're always moving anti-clockwise unless they're retrograde. But if you look between Aquarius and Pisces, you'll see this little line in between. That's the cusp. That's the cusp. That's the ending of Aquarius and the beginning of Pisces. Just 2 degrees before, you'll see 28 degrees. You'll also then, if you look into the center of that particular space, you'll see which house number this is falling in. So if you look in this example, 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius, each house has 30 degrees from 0 in that sign to 29 in that sign. So, and it's always going anti-clockwise. So 28 degrees in this example is at the 12th house. In this example, which is actually my chart, you can actually see it's just here in the 4th house. In this example, you can just see 28. So there's Aquarius, there's Pisces. It's here in the 7th house. In this example, it's the 12th. And then there's one more. This is in the 11th. This is a tricky one, actually, because normally up here, this is usually the 10th house, but this particular chart has got very uneven sized houses. So I hope that's helpful. All you need to do is to either look at the chapter numbers and look out for the house that your eclipse is falling into and go straight there, or listen in and then find it a bit later. I recommend listening in because I think there's going to be some cool things that come up. But anyway, that's just to help you. So yeah, the Saros cycles, if I just go back to this lovely design from Eclipse Atlas, I'm guessing it was them that created it, or maybe they got it from somewhere else, but it really shows these beautiful patterns, and you can even see the type of eclipses that are coming in because of the logo. It's really beautiful. So we can see that this is part of a pattern, and this pattern relates to Saros cycle 121. So what I want to do now is just show you another resource that you can go to. So this, I found a list of the Saros cycle 121 in Wikipedia. And you can double check this if you want to, and I have checked this, and I've also checked it on AI on a search. But this is where I found out all of the different occasions of Saros cycle 121. Funnily enough, I thought it started in 1509, but that was, or 1503, but that was actually the time when it was in Gregorian. It actually goes back into Julian time. So this goes back, the very first of the cycle, the first of the eclipses in this particular Saros cycle was in 944 CE. And the last one of this cycle, and it's 71 eclipses in total, it's happening in June of 2206. So we're into eclipse 61. What that means is, you know, the 71, we're kind of at the end of this cycle. So, you know, one way of looking at these cycles is the charts as they're set up, they're describing the journey. They're describing the onward journey that maybe humanity's facing, a family line might be facing, the ancestry is facing. It's really showing us, because eclipses are associated with the nodes, it's really describing the kind of the learning that's going on. The nodes, you know, when we look at the nodes in astrology, we're always looking at learning. What have I already learned? What have I yet to learn? What am I yet to refine and have a penny dropping moment with? And so to me, we are already well through this particular cycle. We're really quite a way through, humanity is. And so this particular eclipse, whilst it has its own meaning, and it is kind of shocking actually, there's a lot going on with this eclipse. It's packing quite a punch. You know, it is part of a much bigger story, and every eclipse on the way is giving us the next chapter. So the last chapter was on the 7th of February 2008. In fact, all the eclipses that are taking place in this year in 2026, their previous eclipse was in 2008. So this one is Saros cycle 121, and each of the other eclipses this year all correspond to a different Saros cycle with a slightly different story. So within every year, there's a few different themes that are woven into our history. And so, yes, we're at the end, kind of nearing the end, still a couple of hundred years to go. But yeah, this is quite an intense journey. So let's have a little bit of a deeper look. So you can get a lot of information for free in lots of different places. Another place I go to a lot is, and this is a wonderful website, I go to this all the time, which is timeanddate.com. First of all, I go there because it helps me organize all my meetings, because it will do the time conversion. But it's absolutely fantastic for all new moons, full moons, eclipses. If you go to search under their moon phases, it's absolutely there. They've got seasons and they've got eclipses. And so you can go back in time, forward in time. And it's always showing you where this eclipse is really, really activating on its path. Now, you can tell actually that we're coming to the end of a Saros cycle, because they tend to start like right at the edges of our poles. And then when they're really in their heyday, they're right over the equator, and everyone's really feeling it over the equator. But you can see this one's already, it's kind of low down. You know, we've already gone through this real sort of heyday of the story of Saros cycle 121. But here it is. It's not really going to affect many people. Not many people are going to see it. In fact, we're just going to get a little bit of a glimpse down here. It's not really activating anything. However, in those places, there will be hopefully seen a ring of fire. And this is where the moon is right in between Earth and the sun, according to NASA. This is one of NASA's drawings. And that ring of fire is going to last about 2 minutes 20 seconds, so it's shorter. When the eclipses are more important, they last longer as well, so you can often see how important a particular Saros cycle is. But anyway, in this year ahead, we've got these eclipses here. So we've got this one happening tomorrow on the 17th at 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius. Then it will have its corresponding one. So this is a, like, solar eclipses are always new moons. It's where the sun and the moon occupy the same part of the sky as we're looking at. Sorry. And it's in the sign of Aquarius. And then 2 weeks later, we get the corresponding eclipse that is part of the story, really. It's working together. And that one will be happening on the 3rd of March. It's a lunar eclipse, which means it's a full moon eclipse. And that's happening in the sign of Virgo. And the sun will be in Pisces. Then later on this year, we've got 2 in August. Now, July and August are going to be really, really busy. First of all, I mean, there's a whole heap of planetary alignments in July, which makes, I think, July is off the scale. But then right at the end of July, we've got the node changing. So, you know, right now the nodes are the north nodes in the sign of Pisces, the south nodes in Virgo. Around the 26th of July, then the north node's moving into the sign of Aquarius. So we are definitely going to have a nodal shift. And then the last 2 eclipses are showing up across Leo. So we've got the solar eclipse in the sign of Leo. That's the new moon. This is very, very powerful. If you've got something around the 20 degrees Leo, I have, it's going to be absolutely awakening that part of your chart. And then the last eclipse of the year is just at the tail end of Pisces, and it's a full moon eclipse. Again, if you've got something around 4 degrees in the sign of Pisces, it's likely to light you up. In fact, I've got something that's being lit up with all 4 of these eclipses this year. So this is likely to be quite an important year for me, with lots of changes in those particular areas. One thing that I've noticed with the change that we're going through from Pisces and Virgo in the messaging, you know, Pisces is very much about, in fact, both Pisces and Virgo are about being of service. And Pisces is much more in a spiritual way, and Virgo's in much more of a rational way. And one of the things I observe with the sign of Virgo is the fact that it's absolutely a sign that shows us what stories we're holding really firmly in life. You know, it's quite rational, it's very practical, it's very earthly, and it's very organized. It really kind of matches the energy of what the Western world, you know, this idea that, oh, the alarm goes off, we get out of bed, we have our routine. You know, Virgo is quite routine. And yet on the other side of this, we've got Pisces, which is mystical, it's imaginary, it's the unconscious mind versus the very conscious, managed mind of Virgo. And so, you know, that's something that we're really uncovering right now, is how can we let go of that conscious organization, that absolute adherence to the rational world. You know, right now we are meant to be embracing all things that are different and unusual and that aren't so well patterned and shaped. And, you know, the sign of Pisces does also carry within it the idea of deception. You know, that things aren't always as they seem. You know, things in Virgo tend to look exactly as they're looking. You know, we can really, this kind of high ideals of this is how it is, this is factual, you know, we know our position here. But in the sign of Pisces, we can never be that sure. And I think we're really noticing that now at this stage within this nodal pattern. You know, in the sign of Pisces right now, there's lots of questions as to how has our world evolved, and it seemed so set in stone, and yet actually there are underlying stories of depravity and secrets and lies and things being hidden and submerged. So we are going to be coming out of this pattern, and we're going to come into this Aquarius and Leo thing, which I think has been absolutely highlighted because we've got Pluto in Aquarius at the moment. And in fact, Jupiter and Saturn, the last time they came into a conjunction, which is known as the grand conjunction, the great conjunction, every time Saturn and Jupiter come together, they create a very important cycle which civilizations are made on. And their conjunction was at 0, I think 0 degrees in the sign of Aquarius. So it's really interesting. You know, the Aquarian energy was, you know, within the last 6 years was absolutely emphasized with Jupiter and Saturn, now with Pluto going through it really slowly. But what does Aquarius mean? Well, you know, at its highest level, I really think, and you know, according to whether you're a traditional or a modern day astrologer, you might you know, you might believe that Uranus is the ruler of it, or you might believe Saturn is the ruler of it. I prefer to look at both Uranus and Saturn as co-rulers of Aquarius, because, you know, Aquarius is known for its independence. It's absolutely known for breaking down structures. It's absolutely known for consciousness and community and social values. Absolutely, the rise of social awareness is huge. And of course, it's huge. You know, Jupiter and Saturn have been there. Pluto is now there. And we're coming into the nodal return of the North Node in the sign of Aquarius. So social things are huge. The idea that we need to come into a more diverse world that absolutely is Aquarius, where people can be themselves and feel that their unique contributions really count for things. That's absolutely an Aquarian thing. But underneath that, there's also the Saturn energy. Saturn likes to organize things. And, you know, Saturn and Aquarius is about setting up of it's about setting up social systems. So it's interesting because, you know, the Uranian Aquarius, which is, I'm going to be rebel without a cause. I'm going to be my own person. I'm going to be very individual. I'm going to absolutely go to the beat of my own drum. I'm not going to drain resources too much because I'm going to do my own thing. And I don't actually want too many attachments. That's a real Uranian Aquarian energy. But underneath that, the Saturn and Aquarius combination, I think, is building in place social systems that are erasable, you know, that are absolutely breaking down the previous world, but in a way that people can't get out of. You know, like the idea of a one world government, which has been bandied around for years, and truthers or conspiracy theorists have been positing that governments are moving and heading in this way, and they've been ridiculed for years. And yet, are we not already starting to see some of these one world governments starting to really show themselves now? You know, there is this kind of cohesion, this lockstep between governments that could actually make you wonder, do actual countries really exist in the way that we have always thought? You know, are countries absolutely sovereign in their own right, governed by their own royalty or their own governing, their own voted for governments? Or is there something underneath this, behind this? Is there more that is connecting all of the different countries of the world and their governing systems? And in fact, what about technology? You know, Uranus and Saturn can both be technological, and Aquarius, absolutely. I would say if there was a sign of the zodiac that represents the internet, I would absolutely say it's Aquarius. And so there's a lot going on around the internet right now and how we can connect to each other. And of course, the Saturn side will absolutely want to bring in digital IDs and social things. And so now the node is coming back to Aquarius. I do think all of this is going to come up in a big way. Now, when we are looking at the nodes in Aquarius, we might also ask ourselves, well, if it's destroying everything to create something social and equal that everyone can access, allegedly, what does that mean? What is it breaking down? Well, this is where it's breaking down Pluto in Leo, the Pluto in Leo generation. And, you know, we might know and love many of these people who are from the Pluto in Leo generation, predominantly boomers, although there are some late Gen Xers who are equally lovely. I'm very fortunate to know loads of great people born in this generation. But, you know, it's very easy to get into a fight with the idea of the boomers, and lots of boomers do appear to rule the world. A lot of world leaders are in the boomer generation for sure. But the idea of Pluto and Leo, which is I'm in charge, it's my way or the highway. If you grew up with parents that grew up, with wartime parents, you no doubt have heard little children should be seen and not heard. And while you're in my house, you'll go by my rules. That's a real sort of like boomer, but also Pluto in Leo generational kind of comment. So we have got a world that's been created in the energy of it's mine, not yours. I'm going to act now and get an advantage. To be fair, I think if other generations had had favorable housing markets and opportunities to get their little piece of land, I think most other generations would have done, made similar decisions to be able to get a little bit more security. But what we're really looking at here is the fall of an age that we might not see again, where lots of people have security and then their descendants really have no security at all. And the ideas put forward in the media and by governments and by associations such as the WEF, don't know if it's true or not. I have my suspicions. But these ideas that if you come aboard with this idea of like digital ID and other things similar to that, we will create that security for you. So my question is, like, where are you getting your security from? And I think, the nodal change is going to bring about all sorts of discussions between sovereignty and what is it. Like, if you looked at all the different signs of the zodiac, you'd probably say Leo is the most sovereign. Like, Leo is about being master of your own kingdom, about being like, think of the lion. He is the king of the jungle. So it's like, are we going monarchy versus socialist government? That's how it can look. But there's some of the energies of the Aquarian signature right now, in being in opposition to the sovereignty of the royal energy, or that I'm in charge energy, that bombastic energy that rubs so many people's noses up the wrong way, mine included. It's the rampant ego energy, I think, that people are wanting to sort of obliterate or to calm down, tone down, and move away from. But the Aquarian energy is also one of the darker sides of it that I think also comes out is this idea of self-erasure, that we're creating a world where everyone can exist. But actually, there's a lot of censorship that's been coming up in the last 5 years, especially especially since Jupiter and Saturn came together, and especially since Pluto came into Aquarius as well. So even though we're in the sign of the community, the philanthropic era, where everybody's looked after, actually, I see the ideals of it, but I also hear the censorship of it. Like, if you think differently, we'll shut you up. If you say this the wrong way, you'll be put on the naughty step. So what I'm wondering is, how can we balance the nodes here? How can what is good about Leo be brought forward, and how can the shadow of Aquarius be minimized or at least understood? Every sign has its beauty, every sign has its ugliness. And with the nodes, it's showing our dance between these two poles. And so here's what I'm going to use these nodes for, as they come around, is how can I lead in my work without ego? How can I do what I do without ego? And that's something that I think, the Aquarians are absolutely wanting to lead the way. They're also wanting to see their leaders lead without ego. How can I belong to something without erasing who I am? How can I belong somewhere and know it's okay to have a conversation? How can I belong somewhere and know that my contribution counts, even if it goes against what everyone else believes? How can my self-expression feed the collective? So, the Aquarian times are absolutely talking about everyone having access to a voice. That's not my experience in recent times. So how can more self-expression feed everyone rather than, I don't know. I'm already feeling a little anxious even saying this, because I know where I haven't kind of stepped into alignment with either the Leo or the Aquarian side. I've had trolls coming at me from all angles. So this is just what I think is coming up. And I think we're going to start to see this as we go through these eclipses. Absolutely, something is like a hornet's nest has been stirred up right now in this eclipse season as it's coming in. The eclipse seasons always, I think, start a couple of weeks before the first eclipse, and they always last a couple of weeks after the final eclipse. In fact, the degree that it lasts on, which will be 12 degrees Virgo, is going to be a very, very strong point until the next eclipse comes in at 20 degrees Leo. And when we leave the eclipses on the 28th of August next year until the next one in 2027, 4 degrees Pisces is going to be a super powerful point. So we shouldn't ignore the eclipses. Something is stirring. A hornet's nest is upon us. And I do think we're going to be tasked with understanding our own role in what's going on right now, to do with leadership, leading ourselves. That's what I favor, I have to say. I don't really fit into either category. How we can belong without needing to minimize ourselves. I think that's very important. And how can our self-expression feed the collective? I think this is a much easier one to do, because so many people now are wanting to feed the collective with their skills. And I think we're coming into a time of everyone sharing their skills. I really hope so. I think this is a really beautiful thing. So where does this lead us? So we've got these eclipses. I got all this information, by the way, from astroseek.com. If you go to astroseek and you type in eclipses 2026, it brings up the eclipses. So we've got this one tomorrow on the 17th. Its previous one in the Saros series, or the Saros cycle, was the one from 2008. Here's the next eclipse, and it's 2008 partner. Similarly for August, and for both of them in August. Now, one thing I do want to just point out is each time we get an eclipse, according to which node the moon is most connected to, it really shows you whether we're moving forwards with a direction, or if we're kind of shutting the door on the past. And that's kind of a key point, I would say. And what I notice with these, in the order that they're coming in, the first and the last eclipses of this year are really moving us forwards with this really strong kind of energy that is showing us our direction. And then the two middle eclipses are really shutting the door on what has been in the past. It's really saying, okay, I'm done with this. I'm closing that. So as I look at these, I think this first eclipse season is going to awaken a new direction in us, but then we're going to say, okay, well, I can't go in that direction until I've closed this door. And then I think this door is kind of staying shut until this next eclipse comes in on the 12th of August, when all of a sudden we kind of just look over our shoulder again and we just see what we've turned our back on. And then we end the eclipse, the second eclipse season, thinking, okay, I'm much clearer about where I'm going now. So I really recognize that we're really starting with this new direction. This is where I'm hoping to go. And then at the end of our eclipses this year, we absolutely know this is my direction now. I have no doubts whatsoever. This is my direction. I've got a lot of information. I think I'm just going to skirt this. So which one am I going to? I just want to just show you where the Saros cycle we're currently in started, because there's a couple of interesting little similarities. So for instance, the very start of this Saros cycle that we're in right now, believe it or not, Saturn was at 0 degrees in another cardinal sign, Cancer. It was also in a conjunction with Uranus. Now, this time round, when we're looking at this Saros cycle, this current eclipse. Well, would you believe it? Saturn is at 0 degrees in another cardinal sign, Aries, and it's also in a conjunction with an outer planet, not Uranus, but Neptune. So when I go back to here, I think this very, very beginning of the current Saros cycle we're in was absolutely about an awakening of the social order. Because, like, look what planets are in a conjunction: Saturn and Uranus. They're the two rulers of Aquarius. And that's where we are right now. Interestingly, Uranus is also at 28 degrees, which is where this current eclipse is. So I do think, even though we're at the end of this particular Saros cycle journey, we've still got 200 years to go, but we are coming to the end of something that's really, really long. I do think this Saros cycle 121 that we're currently in is meant to change and challenge our social order. And it fascinates me that this current one also has Saturn and Neptune, Saturn and an outer planet, a slower moving planet, to do with what's going on in the world. That's not an accident. That's divine timing, as I can see it. So there's that. Interestingly, the next Saros cycle that comes up, it's not until 2044, but oh my God, check it out. Saturn's at 0 degrees again. Like, wow. I wonder, I mean, what are the chances of that? There are only 12 degrees in a zodiac that have 0 degrees. There's one at the beginning of every sign. What are the chances that out of 71 eclipses, when there's 360 degrees, that you would have at least 3 of these eclipses with a 0 Saturn? I think we all know that that's really highly unlikely. So yeah, I'm a little kind of interested by that. But then when we look back at Saros cycle 2008, you know, the same Saros cycle that we're in right now, our previous one, we had Pluto at 0 degrees in a cardinal sign. So that's the first one, the last one, and this current one. They've all got something at 0 degrees in a cardinal sign, a slow moving planet, Pluto or Saturn. And it's interesting because both Pluto and Saturn are, they're not necessarily known as the nicest planets, but these are the ones that are about ruling elites, people in government, people right at the top. I mean, Pluto in Capricorn here is interesting because Pluto in Capricorn's a real badass. I mean, isn't this where we start to realize that, is it our government's in charge or is it corporations behind the scenes? Interesting. You know, Pluto is the megalomaniac of the solar system. It really shows where the power sits. And Saturn is all about the minions, that, like, all of the people, all the little CEOs, not to diminish a CEO position, by the way. If you're a CEO of something, I don't mean to call you little. You're not. And well done if you've got there. But, you know, and it's not just Saturn. We've also got Neptune at 0 degrees. But, you know, Saturn is, you know, the VPs, the CEOs, the managers behind the, you know, the people who are like the puppet masters underneath the real puppet masters. You know, that's what we're talking about here. You know, and in cardinal signs take action. So this Saros cycle started off with a cardinal Saturn at 0 degrees, really initiating a whole new kind of cycle. And so is the last one and this one. So, and the next one, the 0 degree Saturn, it's not cardinal, thank goodness, but it's a mutable one. But yes, like, I think this particular Saros cycle that we're in right now, 121, is all about us coming into a new way of being governed, or coming into a new relationship with the idea of governance. And so I had a quick look at the Sabian symbols for 9 degrees Taurus and also 16 degrees Gemini. So this is the beginning of the whole thread of this current story that we're on. And this is the ending chapter. And so the beginning, this is just a little excerpt. And this is taking into account Linda Hill's amazing signs, because they are really good. You may have to cross over to the dark side in order to bring light to situations. Adopt a hands-on attitude when looking after others and ensuring their needs get met. Compassionate understanding and caring, breaking down borders between oneself and others. That really speaks of these times, because on the one hand, we're having to see the dark to be able to see the light. Without that contrast and the polarity, we've got nothing. But we're getting to see that there is a dark and a light, and they might go hand in hand. And this is a story of where we come into our compassion and start to help others. And we do break down borders, and we are working between self and others. It's not just about ourselves anymore. We're on a journey of sovereignty, but also kindness. And then the end of this whole Saros cycle, we're not going to be here by then, but our descendants hopefully will. We've learned the whole story of the Saros cycle was to allow mature wisdom to come through. There's a feeling of one's mindset changing. This is like a whole evolution of it. Responsibilities are taken on board. It's time to stop tearing around, like running around like crazy people. Maybe we're going to become more serious about life and its ramifications. To me, is this whole Saros cycle about the evolution of man and how we're growing up and becoming really responsible for the world, for everything, for every person who is coexisting with us. To me, I think that's what it's heading towards. A little bit about the previous Saros cycle we were in. The same cycle, but the previous eclipse, which was on the 7th of February, 2008. Now, if you can remember what was going on for you 18 years ago, you might want to ask yourself kind of like, where was I in life, and how certain was I in life? Because if you've had a feeling that in the last 18 years, things have been unmasked, there might be a reason why. And it's so funny that unmasking theme is being added to, like right now, so the last similar eclipse to the one happening tomorrow, it was about unmasking. It's kind of eerie, isn't it, with its timing? So this shows being able to see through others, being able to unmask people, to reveal oneself or hide away when it's needed. It seems that someone is having their mask stripped away, or society is having its mask stripped away, or governance, or media, or celebrity. They're no longer able to masquerade. They are revealing themselves, who they are, and possibly their intentions. Secret motives may have a purpose at the time that they are concealed, but they almost invariably become known. You may find that you or someone else finds themselves in this situation. Difficulties and embarrassment that can arise, but staying true is the important thing. There may be a need to look after your reputation. Secret motives, having to face oneself, judgment about true wealth, gaining true insight into someone, wearing a mask that suits situations, the joy of surprise. Now, I love this, not just because of what's playing out right now, because I mean, like the things that people are realizing are, or hearing about, being told about, are just like there's no words for it. Absolutely no words. But aside from all this, like, what have you learned about yourself? I mean, one of the things that I've been learning, I guess, since 2008, and I was thinking, how old was I in 2008? What was I doing? Like, my life has really changed since then. And, since then I realized that the life that I was hoping for has been really unmasked. I realized that the truer me has come out in this time, and that I could really drop all those things that really mattered, those things that I absolutely thought were real, would almost put my life on that they were real. During this time, it's like I've seen the world around me completely unmasked. And accordingly, I've had to do the same with myself, like really learn who I am at a much deeper level. I wonder if it's similar to you. Now, when we look at the charts, like this is the Sabian symbol degree for that previous eclipse, which was at 17 degrees. The next eclipse is at 28 degrees. This is what's coming up. I love this. So with Sabian symbols, if you remember, if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that whatever degree you put into Linda Hill's website, and I absolutely recommend you go to that. It's called sabiansymbols.com. Can't go wrong there. It always gets rounded up to the next degree, but this is the degree of the eclipse we're coming into. It is beautiful. A butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. This symbol shows growing, expanding, escaping restrictions, and evolving into a more expansive sense of self with bigger and better potentials. Like a butterfly emerging, at times like these, you're often at a crossroads or major turning point, and you're likely to be able to realize many of your latent but promising potentials. Like an awakening, you're suddenly able to do something that truly reflects you and who you strive to be. This emergence builds for some time. A metamorphosis takes place. Ensure that you take a moment to adjust to new developments before taking flight. Slow building of confidence, coming out to a fuller participation, growing up and out, leaving yesterday behind, leaving restrictions, blossoming, blooming, emergence. Now, I really love this because this is what this current eclipse is asking us to do. It's a North Node eclipse, so it is absolutely pushing us forwards. And when we look at it as the actual chart itself, you can see that, this isn't a very sharp square to Uranus. That square to Uranus is catalyzing. It's bringing about change. It's also a North Node eclipse. So it's moving us forwards. It's helping us choose our new direction. It's also steeped in the energy of Aquarius, which is social values and belonging to the group. It's absolutely about the group. And it's also got a lot of stuff in water. So we've got Venus, we've got the North Node, we've got Mercury in water. Later on that day, the moon is also going into Pisces. The very next day, the sun comes into Pisces. We've got Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. Interestingly, Jupiter and Venus are exalted right now. Both of them are exalted in their water signs, and they're in a trine to each other. And Venus exalted is in a conjunction, an exact conjunction with the North Node. I mean, the water, the compassion, the connecting to the outpouring of compassion is huge right now. So to me, I think this eclipse is shocking us awake, and it's connecting us to the compassion of life and to each other. So I think it's big. Really big. And I think its potentials are amazing. So again, my question is, where is this happening in your chart? Which house is this eclipse falling into? So, and we have the lunar eclipse that's going to follow. I think I'll talk about that in a different session. So what I'm going to do now is go through house by house, and talk about how those eclipses this year are shaping your reality. Like I said earlier in this session, I'm just going to go back. It's quite a few slides. Where is 28 degrees Aquarius in your chart? Just look it up. Go to your favorite site, see where 28 degrees Aquarius sits in your chart, and that will tell you which house you need to look at. So this one, you would look at the 7th house forecast. If you have yours here, which is mine, go to the 4th house forecast, and that will tell you what you need to know. So I hope that first part of this video has been helpful, and I look forward to catching you in the next one. So if you've got the solar eclipse tomorrow on the 17th of February in your first house, then this forecast is for you. You've probably got Aquarius ascendant, possibly Capricorn. But what I want to share with you is kind of what's going on at a sort of deeper level. See, this particular eclipse is here to help you see a new way forward for yourself. This is here to help you redesign your life, help you feel more confident in your direction. in terms of your appearance, in terms of your body, in terms of how it feels in your body. Also very much about your identity. Now, this is in the sign of Aquarius. So, how can you feel comfortable to be yourself, to be a bit different? How can you really feel comfortable feeling completely free? To me, that's where this first eclipse is really hitting. By the time the next eclipse comes along, it's likely to be amplifying your eighth house, most likely. And the eighth house is very much about the hidden infrastructure of blame, shame, guilt, anger, all those little triggering things that hold you back from fully embracing your new direction and fully embracing being completely yourself, by your actual design. And so I really do think these are working together. First of all, you get this sense of, this is where I'm going, this is who I am, this is absolutely what lights me up. And then a couple of weeks later, you're feeling, oh gosh, yeah, I forgot about this. And this makes me feel a bit odd. And so I think it's working, to kind of help you shut the door on some of the poor belief systems that you've held about yourself, and maybe some of the people that have helped to hold them in place. I'm not suggesting you shut the door on them necessarily, but you dim the volume of their voices inside your head, that this is a time for you to come forwards and to feel into your magnificence, to feel into, the weirdness of you. There's a lovely question that I have heard over and over again, and I use it myself quite a bit, from Access Consciousness. And Dr. Dane here says this. He says, what if the wrongness of you is actually the rightness of you? And that's what I really see going on for this first eclipse season, from mid-February to early March. Now, by the time the next eclipses arrive, most likely they're going to be hitting your second house and your seventh house. And it's the August one, the first August one, that's going to be in the sign of Leo, that I really recognize coming up for you first. To me, you're really going to get to see your impact through the people around you. And if you're really feeling comfortable being in your own space by your own design, and really sort of enjoying who you are, I really feel that that's going to connect you into joyful people who feel alive, and people who are full of appreciation for you. So I just see that these are working in a magnificent way. This could be giving you a really beautiful boost in your current relationships, or maybe even helping you find yourself in the right relationship in 2026. And then by the time we come around a couple of weeks later to the final eclipse of the season, it's really showing you your true value. So, in this whole journey of self, how much more do you value yourself? Do you see your true value? Are you standing for yourself? Are you feeling really strong that you know who you are and you've got something to give? And that, I think, is the gift of these eclipses in this season. And yeah, I think this is really going to be leading you in a wonderful direction. Now, if you want some more guidance on this, feel free to get in touch. You can easily connect with me by connecting on Calendly. All my links are below. Or maybe you just like to be part of my community. Come, pop in and see what there is. There are daily forecasts Monday to Friday, and so many other things where we get to share in the gifts of astrology together. So have a good one. Enjoy this eclipse, and let's see where it goes for you. Lots of love. Bye for now. So if you've checked out the position of this solar eclipse that's happening tomorrow on the 17th of February in your chart, and you found out where 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius is, if it's in your second house, then this is the forecast for you. What this means is most likely you've got Capricorn, possibly Sagittarius ascendant. But irrespective of that, what I want to do is really speak to you of the house position. What is being activated in your world through not just this eclipse, but all 4 eclipses in this year ahead for you. What are you absolutely learning right now? So the first thing I would say is this is here to help you seek your own value, to understand the value that you're bringing the world, and to find new ways to celebrate your value. To me, this may come up as, as I'm seeing this, I think it's coming up as a potential new job or a new way of working, a new way of earning money. But it goes much deeper than that. You can't just apply for something new if you haven't already changed the way you feel about yourself. If you're looking for a new job or a new way of working and earning, but still holding that same value in your head about how much you're actually worth, it's not going to work. So this is an inside job. To me, this is you upskilling your version of how much you count and how valuable you are. And as you do that, it's going to have a knock-on effect. It's going to have all sorts of ramifications to help you increase your overall value and to earn more money and to feel actually a lot more confident. Now, 2 weeks later, we've got the lunar eclipse in Virgo. And that's, I think, is just showing you that there's many different ways you can show your value. And it could get a little bit confusing. You might find that there's so many different versions of spirituality, religion, and philosophies that you might not know which ones to listen to. For instance, if you're boosting your confidence and boosting your self-esteem, you could easily go down many different rabbit holes of teachers and methodologies, etc., to grow in your strength in yourself. But actually, what I really see is this is just showing you like an opportunity to see the scale of how many different routes you can take to come up in your confidence. So, I would say whatever this lunar eclipse is showing you, I don't think you should get lost in it. And maybe as you're coming up to the 3rd of March, really be specific in yourself. Like, I am raising my self-esteem. I am increasing my value. And the way that means the most to me in doing this is this, so that you create some definition. So as all these different ideas come up, you're able to navigate them beautifully. Something else I see coming up as well is like the idea that there might be some beautiful knowledge and truth that lives outside your lived experience in a way that feels a little bit painful. Sometimes you might think, oh, well, actually what I need is that lovely retreat in Bali, or I need to go to Japan and study minimalism or something like that. So if your ideas are slightly further afield, you might get that sudden feeling of restriction holding you back a little bit. But I do think you're going to move beyond this and be able to learn something in quite a dazzling way. By the time the next eclipses are coming up, I really think that you're and this is really starting on the 12th of August. This solar eclipse here is really showing you that how much you've changed, and also how it's changing the relationships around you. You're realizing that you've probably put your trust in a lot of people that maybe didn't warrant it. And most likely you're re-educating people silently, quietly, gracefully, showing people your true value, and standing for yourself. This new moon solar eclipse on the 12th of August in your 8th house is really showing you that you have to absolutely stand by your side. You have to hold the hand of your inner child and not betray her, not leave her behind. This isn't a time for self-erasure or self-abandonment. This is a time when you're starting off afresh, and any time someone close to you unwillingly puts you down or guilts you up or does one of those techniques that is less about you, more about them, but also is very much autopilot. So I think a lot of careless things you're going to be pulling up, and you'll know how to do it. And then as we're coming round to the last eclipse, I really see that you're making your community your own. You're stepping out in the world. It's less about, what's my intrinsic value and how do people relate to me, but actually you're coming out into the world and you're showing people your growth in yourself over these 6 months, I think, is there to show you that you want to participate more, that you want to share more, and that you've absolutely got something to give. So I really see this as a journey of self-worth and the emergence of you in your community and the sense of belonging that you're going to get from it. So I hope that's helpful to you. And if I can be of any further support, please feel free to join me in my free community on School. That's www.school, that's skool.com/Feel Good Astrology. There's daily forecasts Monday to Friday, hangouts. There's also lessons, all sorts of different things going on there. But if you want something even deeper and more personal, then feel free to book a reading with me. But anyway, have a great one. This is going to be quite an interesting trip for you in this year ahead. Lots of love. Bye for now. Okay, so if you have checked where 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius is in your birth chart, and it's in the 3rd house, then this forecast is for you. You might find that you've got Sagittarius or possibly Scorpio ascendant, and that's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter which one you've got. This is really just to sort of map out where these eclipses might be falling in your chart in this year ahead, and to give you a sense of what they might be representing. And so this first eclipse that's coming up on the 17th of February 2026, it's a solar eclipse, it's a new moon, it's a ring of fire. It's here to show you where you belong. It's absolutely here to show you where you belong. And to show you that there are many different ways that you can belong, and also to ask you, how confident are you to belong in a way that maybe feels a little bit odd, a little bit weird, maybe being different? Are you ready to out yourself as being different and weird? And I don't know, unique is another way of thinking about it. Individual is another way of thinking about it. How are you ready to let people see you for exactly who you are and not who you think they want you to be? So I really feel that this is such a strong message that we're coming in like hard and fast with this year. Now, by the time the next eclipse comes along, which is on the 3rd of March, it's a lunar eclipse, it's a full moon eclipse. It's in the sign of Virgo. And I really feel that the danger of showing people exactly who you are and what your gifts are to the world, to me, it feels like there's a danger, there's a feeling of exposure. It feels a little bit raw. You might be remembering times when you felt overexposed or criticized or seen, and or maybe you've got emotional defending yourself. Whatever is brought up with this lunar eclipse, to me, it's really showing you how you can build in safety into your professional world and also into your public life. But also, it brings into question, how can you not just create safety, but how can you see your public life as okay, even if you don't have safety? So I guess what I'm asking is, like, how can you build safety in, but also how can you be at peace in a world where nothing is safe and everything gets censored at some point and everything gets criticized at some point? So to me, it feels like, yes, you are learning to be yourself. And also it appears that these eclipses are here to toughen you up a little bit, but not in a way, it's not saying you have to toughen up. But there's a little bit of give and take. How can you learn new tricks about your sensitivity and also reconsider your public life, reconsider your career in such a way that you do feel safe? Because actually, when you're feeling really, really safe, I think that's when the world's going to get the most out of you. And this is actually bringing me to the next eclipse, which is happening early August. This is another solar eclipse. So it's a new moon eclipse on the 12th of August. And this is really bringing energy into that side of you that is about to look deeper and wider and in more places, and in a way that is multicultural, multi-aspected, maybe involving different ways of thinking, different religions, philosophies, spirituality, politics, countries, languages. It's a smorgasbord of experience. This is actually the great adventure. In fact, this kind of eclipse was one that helped me move over to Portugal 8 years ago. I had one of these in just this place. And so this is actually encouraging you to move away. And if you're not moving away like I did, you might be moving out, you might be expanding out, you might be starting some kind of study or starting to write in a new way. Essentially, you're feeling safe enough and brave enough and excited enough in yourself to broaden and deepen your experience and to really enjoy it. I mean, this is your adventure. This is such a beautiful seed point for you. And then the following and final eclipse of this year is landing in your fourth house, most likely. And it is you integrating your whole experience in your home and in your family and in that private place. This is recoding you at an ancestral level. It's saying, do you know what? I'm absolutely fine to be myself, completely fine to be myself. I've learned how to feel safe. I've also learned how to toughen up a bit. And because of that, I've broadened my horizons. I feel magnificent. And now I really do feel at home in my life and in my world. And so to me, that is such a beautiful opportunity through these eclipses to live and grow. So I hope that's helpful. If you would like to go deeper and get more forecasts from me, then please feel free to join my free community on the platform called School. That's www.school.com. That's SKOOL.com/Feel Good Astrology. Or, if you want personal bespoke advice and guidance through this whole time of you going deeper into your experience, then just book a session with me on calendly.com. My link is below. Anyway, have a good one and catch up with you real soon. Lots of love. Bye for now. If 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius happens to fall into your fourth house, then this is absolutely the right forecast for you for the eclipses. Now, it means you probably have Scorpio or possibly Libra ascendant, and that this particular solar eclipse, the one on 17th of February 2026, is falling into your fourth house. So I want to talk a little bit about what this is representing and talk you through the flow of all four of these eclipses. So this one is activating your fourth house. It's activating that place of family and home. But deeper than that, it's also accessing your ancestry. It's accessing your ancestral code, your family code, the behaviors and everything that you were raised with, your very, very first experiences, your inner child, that part of you that absolutely wanted more. This is an eclipse that is likely to change things across the course of this year. You might find that you've got some really big goals as to where you live, or a feeling that you've outgrown your current place of residence. And absolutely that fits because solar eclipse is here, a new moon in the fourth house, an eclipsed one, absolutely can move us on. And it can move us on in our home. It can move us on in our family and create a whole new family purpose, a whole new way of being in your family. It might be that you're changing your old family behaviors for new ones that are going to bring the family 2.0 into your life, that is going to absolutely change your ideas about what family means, so that you can create a new experience for yourself. Mostly, I see that this is a real new way of thinking about your security. So anything that doesn't feel safe, anything that feels like abandonment, all of that is going to be changed. This is how can you create more safety for yourself, and how can you feel a lot more comfortable and secure in your life. Now, by the time the next eclipse comes along, it's really highlighting your 11th house. It's really highlighting social endeavors and creativity with other people. In fact, it's kind of taking you out of your home. It's taking you into a whole new way of seeing things. To me, it feels like invitations. It feels like busyness. It feels like support from 101 different areas in your life. And it can feel busy, and it can feel exciting, and it can feel quite heady, almost as if it's taking you outside of your unique experience. One thing to watch out for is how quick it is for you to abandon yourself and abandon your need for security. And with that, abandon the need to keep it a bit slow, to keep it a bit special, to really feel embedded in your own process. And so that will, I think, come up as a challenge for you. The opportunity for new things, shiny things, a lot of support coming in, and it feels really good. But is it really serving your home and your family? Then we'll be coming over to the next series of eclipses, the second eclipse season. And that is really tempting you in your career. This particular solar eclipse in your 10th house on the 12th of August is really highlighting your ability to be seen and to be felt and understood and to receive recognition and to feel quite magnificent about it. And this, I think, is bringing you into an understanding of how much more you can create for yourself when you're coming from that safe, secure foundation. When you feel really strong in your foundations, what else, what more can you achieve? And so we're really getting that sense of it around the 12th of August. As we come to the very last of the eclipses this year, your 5th house is being highlighted. And to me, it feels like from your new perspective, there's a lot more passion, there's a lot more juice in life. And so if you've been applying yourself in creating safety and you've been applying yourself diligently to your career and really, I think, working on the steadiness, I think by the end of August, there's a lot more creativity coming in. There's a lot more self-acknowledged opportunity. You're really able to drive things from your solar plexus, from your womb area. To me, this and sorry if you're a man, your metaphysical womb. So what I'm really talking about here is once you feel utterly secure in yourself and grounded, and you haven't abandoned yourself this year, and you've loved yourself and you've supported yourself, you've stood by your inner child. When you're coming at the last eclipse from that position, you are ready to go, full of ideas, full of birthing, ready to birth what you are passionate about into the world. So this is such a strong, I think, ability to transmute safety into birthing. So I hope that's helpful for you. Sending you loads of love on this journey, because this is one of the eclipse positions that is really changing, really transforming your life. If you want extra guidance and would like a consultation with me, then just get in touch. All you need to do is reach out on my Calendly link below in the show notes. But if you just want some free extra forecasts on a Monday to Friday basis, if you go and join my free school community, that's www.school.com/feelgoodastrology. Come join the community, and there's a lot of nourishing content there. So anyway, have a really good eclipse season 1 and 2, and catch up with you real soon. Bye for now. If you've got 28 degrees in Aquarius, if that degree falls into your 5th house, then this is absolutely the forecast for you. Because what I'm doing in this short forecast is really piecing together the impacts that these eclipses are likely to have on your life, or in your life in 2026. Like, how is it shaping your direction? Where is it sending you? What big questions is it bringing up? And I want to start really with this one on the 17th of February that is bringing up the question of what you're birthing. What are you birthing into your reality? What are you excited about? What is filling you up with intimacy and passion? Because this is absolutely asking you to follow your passion, follow what makes you feel like you're in an intimate relationship with yourself, or maybe another, where you're filling yourself up with new thoughts of creation. This is absolutely activating the energy of the womb, or your metaphysical womb if you're a man. This is getting you juiced up. This is a playful position. This is meant to be filling you up with promise, and inviting you to get your promise out there and to experience what it might feel like to not go to work every day, but to actually do what you really love to do. Similarly, if you're ready to have a family, this is really encouraging you to make the first steps to go deeper into a family experience, to go into the juiciness of fertility and birthing. Now, by the time the next eclipse comes along, it's highlighting what's hidden. This is a full moon eclipse on the 3rd of March, and it's bringing up the thoughts of everything that you've hidden from yourself, every fear of not being able to achieve what it is that your heart is set on, all of those fears and anxieties that things aren't going to roll out the way you want. They're coming up, and they're not coming up to stop you in your tracks. They're coming up to be recognized. They're coming up to teach you how much you've got invested in yourself not achieving your goals. And it might be surprising, it might be a bit overwhelming that actually a lot of the time you're saying one thing to yourself, this is what I'm going to do, but in many other ways, your behaviors, your beliefs, the little thoughts you have when you think nobody's listening and when you don't even realize you're listening, those thoughts are holding you back. And so I think the following eclipse on the 3rd of March is really showing you what you need to let go of to be able to achieve your rapid fertility and passion-filled intimate life. And so, you know, in between these two eclipses, it would be really helpful to listen to what you're saying to yourself, make a list of it and get some help with it if it's more than you can cope with, or, you know, speak to somebody who's been in your position and who's moved beyond it would be my advice. So that's where the first eclipse is really hitting, as far as I can see. By the time the next eclipses are coming along, I think there's a lot of encouragement and a lot of support. There's so much support, in fact, that it almost feels like what you're wanting to create is a community piece. It feels like everybody's involved and everybody's wanting to help. And you know, it's a brilliant new start, and there's probably some very powerful friends, connections that you've got around you that are absolutely cheering you on. But maybe you've actually found some extra purpose, you know, maybe in following your passions early on this year, you've discovered a new side of yourself that you're now exploring, not on your own, but in a sort of co-creative way. And that is absolutely good. That's where, you know, your eclipse energy is leading you. But by the time the following and final eclipse of the year comes by, a lot of those co-creations are now translating into work and into a day-to-day grind. Now, that's not to say they're bad. The 5th house and your 11th house, those two solar eclipses are absolutely here to create more energy and more things for you to enjoy and to drive yourself forwards with. But what you might find as the last eclipse comes in, that you need to radically shift and change the way you organize your life so that you create more space for the things that really count, and finally say goodbye to the things that have held you back from really immersing yourself in what lifts you up. So I hope that's helpful for you, really do. And if you would like some more structured advice based actually on your real chart, then just get in touch. All of my details are below. And if you wanted to book a consultation with me, just click on the link for Calendly just below. If you would love sort of daily intel from me, then go to my school community. It's a free community, completely free to join. www.school, that's skool.com/feelgood astrology. And there's Monday to Friday forecasts plus loads of other stuff as well. So please do join me there. Hope this has been helpful, and maybe catch you another time. Lots of love. If you've got 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius in your 6th house, then this is absolutely the forecast for you, because that's where I'm talking about it. So the chances are, if you've got Aquarius, like 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius, where this solar eclipse on the 17th of February is landing, most likely you've got Virgo, possibly Leo ascendant. And it doesn't matter which. What matters is where this is landing. And if it's in your 6th house, I'm going to take you on a journey actually of where all of these eclipses are going for this year ahead for you. You know, so is there an ultimate reason for them? Is there a pattern? What kind of shift is occurring? So this is a really important time. You've recently had the nodes going through, the North Node going through your 7th house and the South Node going through your 1st. And so we're in the tail end of this now. And what you've been learning about is new ways of relating to people, new sacred ways of being with people, and some of the things that you might have had to let go about. You know, some of your old beliefs about yourself, some of your old beliefs about the balance between you and other people. It's had to be suspended a little bit. And so it's been quite a deep study for you. So yeah, let's dive in and see what's going on. So first of all, this solar eclipse on the 17th, that's tomorrow. This is really highlighting the 6th house of your stories and your work. It's really showing you just how easy it is to create a new moment in time. Like we often want to create a new life for ourselves, and we might think, oh, what do I need to do? I need a new job, I need a new source of income, maybe a new car, maybe a new blah blah blah, and we have to start sort of organizing it. But it's not always that straightforward. And yet right now, with this solar eclipse happening in your 6th house, it actually feels like you've got the energy for a really good reboot and restart. To me, it feels like you've got the energy to have a restart and a reboot in terms of your physical health. And it also feels like you've got the energy to get things really cleared in your day-to-day life. So much so that you might even consider something new that can come in. And I think that would be quite helpful, because the following eclipse on the 3rd of March is going to be in your 1st house. This is quite a biggie. It's a full moon eclipse. And so it's really bringing out a lot of sensitivity in you. You may well feel very emotional around your partners. You might start to want to have your life very much around what is working for you. And it might feel like your partners are saying, but hang on, what about me? What about me? And to me, this next 2-week period is really about you clarifying what you need for your new start. Now, given that the 6th house and the 1st house also have quite a lot of resonance with bodies, like your physical body, your physical appearance, what it is to be you at this moment in time, to me, this also feels like it's important that you start something that you feel really good about, that's going to help you stay healthy and fit and feel like you're in control. And so if around the 3rd of March you feel like well-meaning people who really love you are trying to get you off your course, it's really important that you are able to say, not this time. This is my direction at the moment. When I need your help, I know where to come. Now, to me, this is getting you off on the right direction. You are creating a new momentum for yourself. Now, by the time the next eclipse comes, the 12th house is really, really highlighted. So this is on the 12th of August. There's a solar eclipse in your 12th house. And to me, this is a more romantic, more wistful, more imaginary new start. So what you've started physically and in a very organized way this month and next month, by the time August comes along, I think the dreamer in you is activated. This new side of you that now has more strength, has more inner poise, more inner grace. And I think that comes from feeling at one in your body. To me, it feels like you've given yourself the chance to sort your body out, and consequently, your mind is so much stronger. Any self-sabotaging habits have been knocked on the head. It just feels like you've got a whole new mental health edge. And you're coming to know yourself. In fact, around the 12th of August would be a really great time for you to work on anything that has held you back, any self-sabotage that you've noticed along the way. You'll have the strength to be able to work with and to deal with. And then finally, as we come to a close at the end of August, I feel like there's a lot more energy for your partners. I just feel like this whole journey, which has been about you going on your journey of transformation, it feels like you feel ready again to reintegrate your journey more with your partners. So to me, it's not to say you're not with your partners this whole time. Absolutely not saying that. But to me, it feels like there's a sense of new value that you're feeling in yourself. And from that, you're ready to share more of yourself with other people. So I feel that you're less intense about failure. You're more excited about let's see what happens, So I just feel like you're on a journey of transforming yourself in such a way that at the end of summer, you're a lot more comfortable in your skin. And because you know yourself so much more, your relationships will be so much more harmonious. So I hope that's helpful for you. My little take on the eclipses this year. If you want something a little bit more direct, absolutely based on your actual real birth chart, then get in touch. You can book a consultation with me using my Calendly link just in the show notes. And if you want day by day forecasts, on Monday through Friday, I do free forecasts in my free community on school school.com. So it's www.school, that's skool.com/feelgoodastrology. It's completely free to join. And there's loads of other stuff on top of my forecasts. There's things you can get involved in and things you can learn. So come join me there and hopefully we can connect. Anyway, loads of love, loads and loads of love. Have a beautiful eclipse and catch up with you real soon. Bye for now. So if you've got this eclipse, the solar eclipse on the 17th of February at 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius, if you've got this hitting your 7th house, then this is absolutely the forecast for you. What this means is most likely you've got Leo, possibly Cancer, ascendant or rising sign. And in fact, it doesn't matter which one. What counts is that I know where this eclipse is hitting, because what I'm going to do is take you on a journey through the eclipses over the year ahead. To give you a sense of what's going on, like what things are you transforming and what new opportunities are there. Now, the first thing that I really notice is during the course of this summer, we're closing up some of the concerns you've had about your internal value. That's where the nodes have been going through your 2nd and 8th house. And you're actually coming into a place of relationship and also relationship with self. So where you've been looking at your value and deservability and, oh, I didn't deserve that, or yes, I do deserve that. You're now moving into a place of ownership, like being in your own body and not worrying about whether you deserve something or not, but you're just being yourself and you're allowing other people to be themselves. And so this is quite a nice journey that you're going on. This first eclipse showing up in your 7th house, you know, if you're single, I think is going to be quite helpful because it's going to be alerting the world. It's going to be sending out those signals that you're ready to meet a mate and ready to start considering what kind of qualities you might want in your mate and how you might meet them and things like that. To me, this is a priming energy. This is a very powerful, you've got 2 powerful solar eclipses taking place this year across your 1st and 7th houses. This is huge. You know, eclipses over the 1st, the 4th, the 7th, and the 10th are immense in terms of creating shift and change for you. So this is likely to be quite a strong year for you. So this first one is the readiness for a relationship. This is opening you up. Now, it's also showing you the projections that you might have applied to other people, and also the projections that you might have also had put on you. But this is awakening you to the possibility that you can go beyond the projections and realize that in true partnership, you are mirroring each other, but absolutely showing each other what you're working on. To me, this is a collaborative healing experience. By the time the next eclipse comes along, it's a lunar eclipse on the 3rd of March, and it's really just sort of doubling back to the idea of what you're worth, what your value is. You know, in the 2nd house, it's bringing up thoughts of, you know, am I earning enough money, and do people see the value in me? More importantly, I would say the question should be, where do I see my value? Do I know my true strength? How comfortable am I to claim my value? And so I think that lunar eclipse is likely to stir up a lot. And it's probably going to be stirring up a lot from your experience in this last year. See it as a moment to refine. It's a South Node eclipse. What I mean by this is it's time for you to shut the door on some of your thoughts and belief systems about value. And it's time to recognize that when you invest in yourself and when you include yourself in your own development, that really great things happen and people start to include you in the whole story as well. Then by the time the next eclipse comes along, which is on the 12th of August, it's highlighting your 1st house. This is a very, very strong indication that you are back on your feet. Not that you weren't on your feet, but it's a really strong indication of what your internal value is, how you see yourself, how comfortable you are in yourself, how comfortable you are in your body, your appearance. To me, this is like saying, here I am. Here I absolutely am. This is a declaration of self. This is not self-erasure at all. And if you've been doing any of that over the last couple of years, this is where it stops. You know, on the 12th of August, this is you saying, I accept myself the way I am, and I am ready to accept even more of myself going forwards. by the time the last eclipse of the year comes, it's going to be highlighting the 8th house. And the 8th house isn't always an easy place, and it's a full moon eclipse. And so what you might find here is that what's coming up at this time is to encourage you to go deeper in your relationships with others. It's asking yourself, how much do I trust myself that I can trust others? What I would say is anywhere where you're doubting your partners and the people in your life, really what you're doing is doubting your strength to cope with what you think they might be doing or what you think they might be thinking. You know, anything that's suspicious, and the 8th house can absolutely bring up suspicions because it's quite a secretive house. They are just that. They're suspicions. It's not based on truth necessarily. And so anywhere where you're feeling unsure about people, this eclipse is likely to bring that up. But it's really just a nudge from the cosmos to go deeper into trust. When you trust yourself, you know that nothing terrible is going to happen. When you trust yourself, you know how to say, this is my boundary, this is my line. You know, you're not in that conversation of, how far can I trust someone to know where my line's going to be? You're just declaring it. You're saying, this is me. And, you know, if you're happy to meet me at this space, let's share, let's collaborate, let's have some fun. But anywhere where you're not comfortable in yourself, it will be shown up around this time. So from start to finish, I really see that you're on a journey to trust yourself more, to love yourself more, and you're on a journey of relationships. Because ultimately, you know, when we started here, this is about how you can signal that you're ready for a relationship. And by the end of August, it's saying, okay, let's identify where you're still not trusting yourself fully. And so it's coming full circle. And to me, this is a recipe for relationship. Anyway, I hope that's helpful for you. If you want to go deeper with your actual birth chart, because obviously this is just a model that I've created to represent most people's birth charts if that eclipse is in the 7th house. If you want me to do this personally for you, then feel free to book an appointment with me. All of my consultations can be accessed via my Calendly link below in the show notes. But I also offer free forecasts on a day-by-day basis, Monday to Friday, within my free community platform on School. If you want to join, it's completely free to join. It's www.skool.com/feelgoodastrology. There's loads of goodies there, loads of ways to connect and have some really nourishing conversations. So hopefully I'll see you there soon. Lots of love. Bye for now. If when you look at your chart, 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius falls in your 8th house, then this is the forecast for you for the eclipse in the year ahead in 2026. So what I'm going to do is unravel the story of all of these eclipses and how they fit in, most likely to your chart setup. So what I really notice here, first of all, is that this particular eclipse on the 17th of February is going to be hitting into your 8th house. Now, the 8th house is, I think, a place of transformations. It's a place where we really consider the rites of passage that are going on in our life. You know, it's a place where sometimes we come up against ourselves and we realize that we need to take bold action to be able to move into the next part of our reality. It's real kind of phoenix rising from the ashes stuff here in the 8th house. But it's not just that. It's also a place that's quite secretive, and it's also a place where we're really encouraged to trust the people around us so much more. So I do expect that as this eclipse comes in, you're more likely to be reminded of where maybe some of the reasons you haven't progressed yourself or moved yourself forwards is because it feels like you're holding back because of trust issues with somebody, or maybe worrying about being judged by somebody in a poor way. The 8th house absolutely holds things like shame, blame, guilt, anger, and of course all of those, and resentment, and all of those emotions and sentiments can absolutely hold us in place so that we don't progress beyond them because we might be too ashamed or too embarrassed. And so this solar eclipse on the 17th to me is your nudge, your cosmic nudge from the universe to get moving, to move beyond where you feel a bit ashamed or a bit embarrassed or not quite good enough. This is your time to break free from that. Now, the following eclipse that happens on the 3rd of March is going to be emphasizing matters of belonging and also narrative. It's really pulling up all of the thoughts about, the assumed knowledge that everyone that you know and everyone close to you has agreed upon. And to me, because it's a full moon eclipse, it's likely to bring up a little worry, and the stress of needing to fit in and needing to belong through consensus, needing to belong because you're in agreement with something that maybe doesn't quite feel right. So to me, this is already, just in the first 2 eclipses, bringing up matters of how can you be more true to yourself, how can you face yourself even through your own shadows, and then how does that translate into moving within the community that you belong. By the next time we come into the second part of the eclipse season for 2026, the second house is really emphasized, it's really lit up with this solar eclipse, or actually not, because it's a new moon, and so that isn't very lit, but effectively it's putting the seeds of a new you, because of like a new sense of self-esteem. To me, this is you deciding to put yourself first and to include yourself in things. To me, this is you committing to yourself and rising in self-esteem because of it. And so I wonder what's going to take place between March and August that's going to help you build your confidence, so that from the 12th of August, you're moving forwards with a real sense of definite clearing, and in such a way that is adding value everywhere you go, because the second house is also about money and the value of your contributions. Now, this is really quite important, because by the time the next eclipse comes along, you're in a much freer place, and you're coming into a place where you might want a bit more fun, and you might want a little bit more of a new direction. And it might take a little bit of a nudge, because it feels like you're about to make a decision that maybe other people fear to tread, or maybe people that you've trusted in the past, maybe people that have stood behind you, but maybe in standing behind you, they've held you back a little bit. To me, it feels like you're going off alone. You're becoming a bit more independent. You're broadening your horizons, and that might mean moving away from the community that you have been at home in for many, many years. So I do think there is this very great shift that you're going through in this year. And I say this year, but it's actually 6 months really, isn't it? From 17th of February to the 28th of August, between these 2 eclipse seasons, you're facing the parts of you that you don't like and feel awkward by. You're recognizing where you kind of don't fit into the community and where you handle how you fit in. And then, sorry, I've got a cat going crazy trying to get out. If you can hear that kind of scratching at the door. And then where you're moving to, you're definitely moving in a way that you're raising and rising up, so that you can step out of the narrative that you felt obliged to be in, but you're creating freedom for yourself. So this is one hell of a journey for you, and you're completely up to it. So have a good one. Now, if I can be of assistance in any way, if you want me to check this out in your actual birth chart and go even deeper, then please feel free to get in touch. My details are below, and you can book a session with me on my Calendly link. But if you would just like to benefit from my day-by-day forecasts, I do those on within my free community on the School platform, and you can go there and join up. It's www.school, that's skool.com/feelgoodastrology, and I'll be really happy to welcome you there. Anyway, loads of love to you. Have a good one. And I've got to let this cat out of my office before he destroys it. Lots of love. If when you look at your birth chart, you've got the degree of 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius in your 9th house, then that is where this particular solar eclipse is going to sit. And so what I'm going to do in this short forecast is take you on a little bit of a journey throughout all of the eclipses in this year ahead in 2026, to give you a sense of what stories are going on and what potentials are coming up, what possibilities are there. So yeah, let's get cracking. So first of all, this solar eclipse in the ninth house is really moving you forwards in ways that are unknown and unclear and kind of exciting. If you want a sense of what might be going on, think back to what was going on in 2008 when there was a very similar eclipse, most likely in the same house. Um, so this is expanding your sense of what you know. You might be getting ready to study something, to teach something, to go deeper into knowledge. That's one of the big themes with this. But it's also about travel. It's also about expanding on your context of what is real in the world. And so this is you stepping out of everything that is comfortable. So anywhere where you felt too squashed into society and too normalized, this is, I think, really not a cry for help, but it's a cry for, it's almost like a battle cry. It's like you flinging your arms in the air and going, yes, I'm here, and like diving into the world. So I love this. I think this is a very, very exciting solar eclipse for you to be having. Now, 2 weeks later, on the 3rd of March, that is bringing up the full moon eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse across it's in your 4th house, but the sun is going to be in your 10th house. Now, to me, this is really suggesting, the what about me kind of aspect of your life. And so you may well, at the same time as want to expand, you might be feeling sadness or sorrow. You might be feeling upset or homesick. You might be feeling like you have, you're trading your comfort and security for the feeling of excitement and something new and fresh. It might take, your new decisions might be taking some adjustment to. It's not necessarily endings, but I think you're just changing your relationship to your home somehow. And that, to me, is an energy that you're setting in motion, so you're looking for excitement and it might be a bit disruptive at home. Now, by the time we come to August, there's going to be a lunar eclipse in your 3rd house, a solar eclipse in your 3rd house. And this is, again, a new moon. So it's exciting. And to me, this is bringing up a new kind of belonging. Now, if you've been on a trip or a tour, it might actually represent when you come back home. It might be when you arrive back to where you were when you started. Or what I really see is you're making the unfamiliar change around the 17th of February. All of a sudden, it's becoming very familiar and you're feeling at home. You're feeling part of things. You're feeling a sense of belonging. So, a really good thing to be doing around the 12th is finding out how you're adding value locally and really enjoying it. It really feels like something that is joyful. It is very much about homecoming and connections. By the time we come to the last eclipse of the year, which is happening in your 10th house, so it feels like things are being exposed. Maybe as you've got more comfortable at home, you're reaching out in a new way. You're reaching and kind of putting your business out there, putting your work out there, being a lot more public about what it is that you do and how you are in the world. You might feel a little bit exposed. This is a full moon eclipse. And again, that familiar feeling of battle between home and career, home and away may well come up. However, I think this is an invitation to you to recognize all the new things that you've brought in and now go public with them. So I really do see that you're on a journey of broadening your experience, stepping out into the unknown, then starting to feel a little bit more familiar. And then when you're feeling a little bit more safe and secure, you're ready to put yourself back out in your rightful place. It feels like a homecoming in terms of your achievements. So I hope that's helpful as a synopsis of the different energies that are coming up based on your birth chart. Now, if you want to go even deeper, if you would really like to know what this might look like in your actual birth chart, your individual birth chart, which will be very different to this, then feel free to get in touch. My details are below. If you click on the Calendly link, you can book directly into my diary. Or if you really like the way I do my forecasts, you might like to listen to my daily forecasts. I do them Monday to Friday on the school platform. It's free to join. So all you have to do is go to www.school.com. That's skool.com/feelgoodastrology. And you can come and join me there in the community. So maybe see you soon, but if not, have a fabulous eclipse and catch up with you real soon. Lots of love. So if you've got 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius in your 10th house, then this is the forecast for you. This is showing up where the solar eclipse on the 17th of February is taking place. And it's taking place in a very, very public part of your chart. This is in the part of your chart associated with your career, your public persona, how recognized you are, how appreciated you are. And very much about your status. And so, this is a solar eclipse. This is a new moon eclipse, which is absolutely aligned to things such as a new start, a new direction, a new sense of uplift in terms of your career. So this is a really great start, in terms of this year ahead. So what I want to do is take you from there through the other eclipses to see if we can get the story of what's going on and how you're evolving. So, yeah, I think this all starts tomorrow on the 17th of February with this feeling of an uplift, with this feeling of a new start, a new direction. You know where you're going. You're feeling quite buoyant and alive with the energy of the eclipses. Now, by the time we get to the 3rd of March with the lunar eclipse in Virgo, to me, this is really highlighting, your passion for doing what you want to do and your feeling of the desire to birth something and the excitement that you have with that. And that literally could be about conception and fertility as well. It's also a place where we might meet somebody. The 5th house is a place of fun and cutting loose a little bit and enjoying ourselves. It's where we are passionate. And so, yeah, I think by the 3rd of March, this is a lunar eclipse. So it's a full moon eclipse. All matters of creation and self-creation are highlighted. You might feel quite emotional about what it is you want to put out into the world. You might feel quite emotional about what you're growing and what you're committed to. However, it does feel like it's yours, and it does feel like it's something that you need to hold on to. The tension coming from the full moon is that it feels like everyone else wants to get involved, and you're saying like back off. This is my passion. This is what this means a lot to me, and I need to follow this myself. And so you can see how these might work together. You're getting to the top of your career, or you're feeling really good in terms of your status, and now you're wanting to develop something for yourself. Now, this might remind you of 2008 when there was a very, very similar lineup as well. Anyway, the next lunar eclipse that comes up, or the next eclipse that comes up, is a solar eclipse, and that's happening in your 4th house, really showing that there is something bringing you back home and something that allows you to feel grounded, gives you a sense of belonging. Your attention is really on your ancestry, your roots, your internal behaviors, and all the messages you've ever learned about your behaviors. I mean, this is fundamental stuff. This is like, how at home are you? Can you feel more at home if you tried? This is absolutely encouraging you to enjoy your home in a brand new way. And then the following eclipse that's coming up, which is a lunar eclipse, it is reminding you of how much support you've had over the last 18 months, but it's also reminding you of some of the difficulty and tricky parts of support. So in a similar way, around the 3rd of March, when you might be wanting to manage something and kind of develop something for yourself which feels really passionate and you're really excited about, and you're like, no, back off, I don't need you at the moment, thanks for your support, but actually I really want to do this on my own. by the time we're coming to the 28th of August, it feels like, again, you're having to manage expectations. Now, if I unpack this a little bit more, I think one thing is clear is you're going through quite a shift right now. And the two solar eclipses, which are across the signs of Aquarius and Leo, they're really hinting at the development that's coming in. You know, from July the 26th, the North Node is going to be in the sign of Aquarius in your 10th house, and the South Node in Leo. And so everything here, no matter if it's involving friends versus you and what you're creating and what you're intimate about, everything is really around the subject of your groundedness. Like, how can I get more secure so that I can reach higher in the world? When I look at these two eclipses, the solar eclipses here, I'm seeing a tree trunk rooted down here in the 4th house and then stretched out up top in the 10th house. So irrespective of whether you're co-creating on your own or with other people, I think the real purpose here is how grounded can you be? Because the more grounded you are, the more you remember who you are and understand all the sort of programming that you've had that's helped you on your way. To me, that is determining where you end up. And the status that you're attracting into your life, the career that you're refining and defining, and your feeling of legacy. This is a really important year, or like, this is a big year, but actually the following 18 months are going to be really important because you're defining your legacy in such a big way. So that's where I'm going to leave this. Now, if this has been useful, that's great. If you want to go even deeper, then feel free to get in touch and book an appointment with me. I have my diary on Calendly. You can just book directly into my diary. If you love my forecasts, don't want a consultation, but would love to enjoy my forecasts more, then feel free to join my school community. It's on the school platform. All you have to do is go to www.school.com, that's SKOOL.com/Feel Good Astrology. And it's there for you. There's forecast Monday to Friday, very easy to interact with. And there's a lovely community that's growing. And we're all supporting each other and having fun. So that's all there for you. But anyway, have a beautiful eclipse and hopefully catch up with you all soon. Lots of love. Bye for now. So if you've got the degree of 28 degrees in the sign of Aquarius and it falls into your 11th house, then this forecast is for you. It might mean that you've got Aries rising, possibly Pisces. But in fact, that doesn't matter. What really matters is that this eclipse falls into your 11th house and you're in the right place. So what I'm going to do is talk you through how the eclipses are laid out roughly in the architecture of your chart, and talk you through some of the stories that might be coming up. Eclipses are moving us, they're moving us forwards. When I think of all of my big changes, my big life changes, they've always occurred when an eclipse has been over one of my core planets. In particular, my moon one was pretty shocking. And also my angles. The angles are super, super duper important. Now, for you, the eclipses are going in between the 5th and the 6th and the 11th and the 12th. So there's two different polarities that we're going to be focusing on here. And in particular, the polarity between the 5th house and the 11th is going to come up as a theme stronger and stronger over the next 24 months or so. You know, this is coming on strong. And in particular, from the 26th of July, it's going to be a big theme for you. So anyway, let's get started. On the 17th of February, then, that's when we've got the solar eclipse, which is a new moon. It's a new start, and it's in your 11th house. Now, the 11th house is a place where we feel support. It's full of friends. It's new moon stuff is all about collaborations, like who are we collaborating with, who do we trust, who we're going to work with, where are our networks bringing up lovely new connections, where is all the great stuff that has happened from all the amazing connections and work and co-creations that you've done with other people. How is that snowballing? I always think the 11th house snowballs quite a bit. I also think of it as a place of co-creation. And I don't necessarily mean that with other people, but I also think of it as a place of co-creation with the universe, with universal energies, whether you consider that to be Jesus, God, Kuan Yin, the universe, energy, electromagnetic energy, frequency, whatever. And I don't mean to whatever it, because however we're interacting with the force field, the energy of life, I also think it's water and water consciousness. I think water is the animating force for all of us, in fact. So yeah, we have got this co-creative energy going on in your 11th house. So that if you're putting your thoughts out there, if you're journaling, if you're writing your thoughts down and saying, right, this is the year when I'm going to do da 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 da, all of a sudden life or some animating force is listening and co-creating and sending you the right contacts at just the right time in just the right way. This is a time when you're playing with influence. This particular solar eclipse is likely to bring in influence in quite a big way. So this is helpful. And for instance, if you work for anything where there might be a need for funding or support from really big organizations, that's also something that comes in with this 11th house. Now, that's going to get things moving. And especially if you've been thinking like, oh, how can I create this? And how can I move this way and that way? This is a place of social dreams and collective dreams, and where you're connecting into a tribe, a group. So again, I think, you're not going to be feeling lonely necessarily. This is going to be helpful. By the time the next eclipse comes along on the 3rd of March, I think you're a bit worn out, and it might be showing in terms of your health. You might be a bit exhausted, because this really gets things moving. And then a lunar eclipse, which is a full moon in your 6th house, can just feel a bit crazy. Like, oh my God, there's too much going on. I can't quite keep up with it. It's important to take some time out around the 3rd of March just to watch your health. Make sure you're not giving yourself a massive stress headache or palpitations because things are moving faster than you can process. You really do need to, as part of this process, build in time to relax, refresh, and come back into neutral. That's so important. So I really highlight that for you around the 3rd of March, mostly because the sun and the personal planets are going to be in your 12th house, and that is your natural sleepy time. That is the time when, yes, it's okay to be doing stuff, but you want to be doing it more in the imagination with your dreams, and not so active, but you're wanting mostly to be in the creative dream force. Use your power of imagination to create the world around you, like trans-surfing kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's important. Now, as we're coming up to August, we've got on the 12th of August, the second part of the eclipse season for 2026. And it starts off with a banger, a solar eclipse in your 5th house, which is a new moon in your 5th house, which is what you're passionate about. It lifts you up. It gets you really ignited, passionate. FYI, if you're wanting to create a child, this could be quite a good eclipse to be doing that. And it can be very intimate and sensuous as well. But it's essentially like, what am I passionate about? Like what do I feel sort of energized by? It's going to grab your attention. And so you might feel that, yeah, I've got lots of support behind me. I've got lots of people that I've been working with. But to me, around August, you're wanting to cut away from other people's support and to nourish yourself. To me, this is a time to feed your own passion, allow your own passion to grow beautifully, naturally, organically, and then see what happens. But if you're allowing everybody else to feed it to you, I think it could get a little bit tiresome. Anyway, towards the last eclipse of the year, this is really signing off on a time when you've been working through self-doubt, through fear, through anxiety, and through a sense of retreat. Remember how I said it's time to relax and unwind and get yourself some time, where you can create things in your brain. Well, by the time we get to the end of August, you've really done that. To me, it feels like you've reprogrammed your mind. You've worked through most of your insecurities. To me, it feels like this whole 6-month period, in fact, from tomorrow, the 17th of February, right the way through to the 28th of August, if you were to set yourself an ongoing goal of rehabilitating your mind to relax, to enjoy your mental health, to enjoy your dream state, to enjoy your meditation, your inner work, your inner child, I think by the time this last eclipse comes through, you'll be moving forwards taller, straighter, a lot more aligned to what you are now focused on. So I see this as such a big journey. So just to recap about this journey, I would say that you've been learning a lot about life management over the last 18 months, what overwhelms you and then what nourishes you in terms of your inner world. This eclipse is sending you into a new territory where you get support from friends, and also where you start to, having got that support, where you're also now starting to think, I want to develop what I'm passionate about. And it just so happens that you've learnt to manage your energy and you've also learnt to manage your mind. And so they were the necessary things to come into place. And that's what you're completing on this year. So your mind, your life management, that's what you're sewing up, so that you are creating with other people and also with yourself. So I hope that's helpful. Now, if you'd like to go deeper in your own chart and understand things at a much more personal level, then feel free to book in an appointment with me. My Calendly link is just below. You can just book directly into my diary. But if you like the way I do my forecasts and you want more of them, then consider joining my free community on the school platform. The address to it, and you can scan the QR code above, but you just go to www.school, that's SKOOL.com/Feel Good Astrology. And you can come in. There's Monday to Friday forecasts. There's fortnightly hangouts to do with the moon. And there's loads of other stuff as well. There's a premium membership where I'm teaching, but there's tons of stuff. And if you want to be part of a community that feels empathic and like we're all really supporting each other a lot, then please do come and join us. But anyway, loads of love to you. Have a good one and catch up with you all soon. Bye for now. Okay, so if you have got your 28 degrees in your chart, if it falls in your 12th house, then you're in the right forecast. This is the forecast to explain where the solar eclipse is happening in your world, in your birth chart, and also a little bit about what's likely to be lit up in this year ahead with the other eclipses. They're all working together and telling a really distinct story about you. What this mostly means is you've most likely got Pisces, possibly Aquarius ascendant. And actually, it doesn't really matter which, but what does matter is that you're in the right place. So the 12th house, this is where this particular eclipse is really taking effect. Now, as I go through this, what really comes up for me is from July, the 6th house and the 12th house polarity is going to be something that you're working on in your life. The 6th house is very much about all the things you've assumed in your life, and you've always used that as your compass. That is losing its grip a little bit. And actually, where you're really encouraged to work towards, and this is what you're learning more, is more about being yourself, more about being at peace with your inner life, your inner world, your inner mind. And this is also challenging you, or inviting you at the very least, to consider those parts of you that have been unspoken, unlistened to, those parts of you that you've kind of silenced, where you've self-abandoned. And so really you're about to go on this journey of reconciliation, of bringing yourself back into your life. You're including all of the aspects of yourself. So might I suggest right from the outset that now you know this is project you that you're coming into. Now, over the last couple of years, or 18 months, sorry, a year, we've still got another 6 months, but over the last year, we've had, or you've had the North Node going through your first house, and it's coming to the end of its time there. But the North Node in the first house has been really talking about your appearance, your body, everything about you as a personality, you as like everything that you know about yourself has probably been re-looked at through quite some strong lens. But now you're looking at the not so obvious parts, those parts of you that are quieter, and those parts of you that the stronger parts of you might have run roughshod over. So this is a continuation of the theme, but you're just going deeper, and you're going deeper into the unknown. So with that aside, let's explore what's coming up for you. So this first solar eclipse is really your invitation to step into the 12th house. It's saying, okay, Project You is about to go even deeper, and it's about to be more personal. It might not feel comfortable. It might feel a little bit awkward at times. And you might be investigating parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed. And so the first question is, are you going to do this on your own, or are you going to get a guide by the side who could be quite helpful? Because, whether you're consciously doing this or not, the North Node going through this part of your chart is likely to bring up insecurities, fears, things that you think have been like settled and papered over, and they're likely to come up. And so this eclipse right at the start, I think, is an invitation to sit with your unconscious mind, think about what you'd like to achieve in terms of your beautiful soul, your soul essence, your energy, your dreams, that really secret, personal, private side of yourself, that quiet side of yourself. What about your psychic instincts, your ability to just tune in like that, your intuition? How might you go about bulletproofing your intuition? What might you do? And so to me, this is the development of a plan. This is you committing to yourself and saying, do you know what? I really want to work with myself, really want to go deep. So this is great. Then the second eclipse, which is happening in the 7th house on the 3rd of March. This is where you might get a little bit stressed out with people around you, in particular partners, if you've got someone very close to you. But if not like an actual like partner, this is like the people that you're partnering with in life. To me, it feels like there's counter influence, counter intel, almost like you're being pulled out of your quiet space, your inner sacred temple. It feels like somebody's pulling you out, like, don't look inside, look over here, look at me, look at me, look at me. And so you might feel very conflicted. And yeah, to me, it's an invitation of how you're going to manage it. You might find that the people around you, given that there's a full moon eclipse in the 7th house, you might find the people in your life seem a little bit frantic and a little bit over emotional, maybe a bit needy, a little bit too vocal. And you'll really feel the contrast of it, from your peace to their unpeacefulness, if that is a word. I don't even know if it's a word, but I think you get the picture. And so I think in many respects, from February right the way through to August, you're kind of experiencing this. You're noticing that when you're experiencing your peace and minding your own business and really minding and tending to the inner garden, that you're feeling so much more relaxed, so much more secure and safe. And that actually, when you're around people who aren't managing their own emotions, it feels a little unsafe. And you might be wondering, well, how do I manage that? What might I do? And that's when August comes in. So we've got the solar eclipse in your 6th house. And this to me is a new start. And this might be where you start to put in some boundaries and you start to say, look, you can be emotional if you want, and I can be private or tend to my inner garden as much as I want. We are all free people to interact with ourselves in the way that we need to. However, in my life, for it to run smoothly, I now know that I need this kind of energy around me. I want to organize my life like this. And so this to me is a reset. You're resetting all of your dials and really speaking up for yourself. So I see that you're going through a kind of, not like a midlife crisis or anything like that, but you're kind of stepping into your new world with some confidence. And again, it might not always sit very well with the people around you. However, you might invite them to join you. If you keep in your own lane And if you get into a feeling of peace, and if you get into a lovely rhythm with your new life, they might want to join you there. So my advice is be the inspiration to them. You don't have to browbeat them or anything, and you can leave them to their own game as much as possible. If they're disruptive, it might be a time when you actually say, you know what, I need to just like close this door, because right now my peace is the most important thing. But really, I think you're going to be leading by example. As we come to the last eclipse of the year, this is in your first house, and it's reminding you of who you've become. Do you remember at the start I said you've been learning about yourself from all different aspects, but you've been learning in terms of your appearance, your body, how you stand, and what people know about you, and you're going on an inner journey. Well, at the end of these eclipses, you're revisiting your image, you're revisiting the physical body, you're revisiting what people know about you, and most likely you will have shifted and you'll be making some amendments. So you go full circle, and that is the journey in this year ahead. So I hope that's helpful for you. If you want to go deeper, and if you'd like me to apply this kind of logic, but also the intuition and the channeling to your actual birth chart, then feel free to book in a session with me. You can reach me on my Calendly link in the notes below very easily, and invite me to work with you. But if you like my forecasting, if you like the way I talk about astrology, then you might also want to join my free community on the school platform. All you need to do is go to www.school.com, that's skool.com/feelgoodastrology, and hopefully I'll see you there. But anyway, loads and loads of love to you. Have a brilliant eclipse experience in 2026. I really think this one is taking you so much deeper into who you are. So anyway, loads of love. God bless. So there you have it. I've gone all the way through all 4 eclipses for all 4 houses. And you could say all 4 houses, all 12 houses and all 12 signs. I hope you found that interesting, how the eclipses are really bringing you full circle in the way that they present. In many ways, we're kind of summarizing what we've been learning over the last year with the eclipses, with the nodes in between Pisces and Virgo. Those lessons really get emphasized with these eclipses. So I hope you found it helpful. If you want more, then just go to school.com/feelgoodastrology. Please do join me there. I put so much effort into my community now, and I really love it. I feel like it's a place where I can be a lot more me. So if you're a little bit curious as to, if ever you feel like I'm holding back a little bit, it might just be because YouTube's a massive and scary place. And actually, I've got my moon in Pisces and my ascendant in Scorpio, and since I've started my community on School, I realize I feel so safe there. So yeah, I'm a bit sort of less guarded. You get a lot more of me there. So if that sounds good, then come join me there. And again, if you do want to work with me, my link is below. Just invite me to work with you. Click on my Calendly link. Anyway, have a fabulous eclipse season 1. And I'm sure I'll be talking way more about it. In fact, in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be talking about the Saros cycle meaning behind the lunar eclipse on the 3rd of March. But anyway, loads of love wherever you are. Have a good one. Bye for now.